Hello, everyone, and welcome onto the mindset. I am Yetunde Adenike. On the last episode, we watched two teenagers standing on the edge of a dangerous decision to abuse inhalants.
Michael said that if we sniff the petrol, we will feel as good as if we took brandy.
Ha! Ẹ gbà mí, àwọn ọmọ yìí sniff petrol. It will make them high ni.
Drug abuse nìyẹn.
Hey.
Thankfully, someone stepped in before it was too late and everything ended happily.
Do you even know how dangerous what you wanted to do was?
We did not know it was dangerous.
Many people start on the terrible journey into drugs, believing that they can never get addicted, that the negative consequences of drugs can only happen to another until they enter one chance.
And they tell themselves they can stop whenever they want to, only to get stopped there.
That's terrible.
Very terrible. You guys are just lucky that we found you both before you guys put your lives at risk. So both of you go home and make sure you go home straight, okay?
Yes, ma'am. We'll never do anything bad again.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, not every story has such a happy ending. That's why today I am joined by my friend and professional colleague, Dr. Chinyere Okonkwo, Deputy Director of Clinical Psychology at the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba. She has worked with individuals of all ages on the issue of substance abuse and dependency for over 23 years, and it is my absolute pleasure to have her here with me today. She's here to help us understand why teens try drugs, what signs to look out for, and most importantly, how we as parents, friends, teachers, and the community at large can step in to prevent adolescent substance abuse.
On the Mindset with Yetunde Adenike.
Thank you very much, Chichi, for joining us today. It is a pleasure, as always, to have you here.
Thank you.
Now, let's talk about how to keep our teens safe. Let's go straight into the questions. Why do teens try drugs? Is it curiosity? Is it peer pressure? Psychological issues? Why do teens try drugs?
The answer to that question is multiple because it includes everything you have mentioned. Yes, peer pressure or peer influence or both. Teens have this issue of wanting to identify with one another, wanting to belong, wanting to be recognized for who they are. And so sometimes, depending on the company available, the individual tries to align himself or herself with that group. And in a case of substance use, if he or she aligns with individuals who use substance, the likelihood of indulging in such becomes very, very high. I have seen situations where the teen says, well, I liked them, I liked the way they were doing, I wanted to be part of them, and the condition they gave me to be part of them is if I can do what they do. And part of what they do that makes them who they are is using some substance. And so that is peer pressure. And then for some, they just join and they see that when they use this stuff, they are considered big boys or big girls or something like that. And they desire to feel the same way. And so they use. That is peer influence. Now, sometimes also, out of curiosity, some just hear about these substances. And we know that the developmental stage of teens put them in a position where they feel they can try anything, where they feel they are invincible, they are indestructible, they can engage in anything, and then they really want to experience excitement. And so they want to try it. If they have heard that it will make them feel that way, they want to try. They are adventurous, Yeah, sometimes also It may be as a result of feelings or experiences going on around them. I've had to see some of them who reported that, well, they were feeling so fed up with maybe frustration from school as a result of coursework or challenges with academics, or even as a result of problems within the home, parental conflict, parent-marital conflict. And when they get overwhelmed with this and they feel so unhappy, sometimes they come across peers or friends that would suggest that to them. Countless number of times I have seen clients who got introduced to substance as a result of this. Oh, I was feeling so overwhelmed with the issues my parents are having, and then I have this friend who I shared with, and he said, oh, why do you worry yourself with adult stuff? You can use this and then you will never remember any of those again. And then he tries it and it works. Because it worked, he continued to try. And before he knew it, tolerance set in. From tolerance, he became, dependent on the substance. And so the story, continued until he got himself in the treatment center. Yeah. So there are myriad of factors. And then it's important to know that majority of people who get addicted to substances do not continue to use because of the reason that they got into it in the first place. What I mean is this: the reason for first use is not always the reason for continued use. When they become dependent, then whether they like or they don't like, they just have to use. That is the dependence.
Yeah. What are the early signs to look out for, as parents, as friends, teachers, members of the community? What are the early signs to look out for in adolescent substance abuse?
Okay, so actually for somebody who is quite observant, it's easy to pick. It's easy to pick because the signs are just everywhere. For example, in a family now, a child that is known to maybe keep to time, engage in activities, come back, gist you about what he or she is doing and things happening, suddenly starts to keep away from you, try to dodge, meeting you. And when you want to engage this child, one thing you will notice is there is this loss of eye contact. If it's a child that has not known to be shy and has been used to, warming up to you, he starts to want to put his face down and he will always be very busy to have a discussion. That is a sign. And maybe going out, coming in, not accounting for where he has been to or what he has been up to. Spending money, maybe you have pocket money or allowances, which maybe weekly the child gives you breakdown that the money you gave me, I used it for this. He stops doing that. And even when you ask, he doesn't tell you how he spends it. He will only tell you, I used it to do one thing or the other. So he stops being accountable for what he's being given. And sometimes you can also notice that things get missing in the house. And you sure those things were there, it just disappears. And then the child starts to tell you lies, obvious lies, something that is very clear. You will see him telling you with every seriousness, trying to convince you. And then you may also observe in the look of the individual, depending on the substance. Sometimes when they use this substance, you may actually see it. For instance, cannabis. When used, you could see the sign from the eyes because the white part of the eye becomes red. The individual may not be very coordinated in terms of engaging in discussions and things like that. If it's stuff like inhalant, you could perceive or see stains on the individual's body or perceive it around. Or maybe some of them, you see them always with hanky or cup or balloon or something. You don't know what they are doing with it, but that is something that they use. Okay. or disappearing. You are engaged in discussion and all of a sudden the person disappears and reappears. And there is no good reason for that. Okay? So quite a number of signs. And sometimes because they have gone very complicated, sophisticated substances are everywhere. They bring in certain objects and you think that those things are maybe toys or they are just things that people play with. For example, we know that there are some cookies that they put substance while making, some cakes, some sweets, some biros, some that look like biros, some that look like wristwatch, some that look like just normal, regular items. And you see your child always clutching onto this. You should be inquisitive enough to know, And sometimes you see a gentle child, naturally gentle, soft-spoken, and becoming very rude and, or very unruly, and maybe reacting, getting irritable when you are trying to ask too many questions. Instead of relaxing to respond, you get quite irritable because they don't want you to get to the core of what is going on with them.